Vernon found the phone in his mother's nightstand drawer, buried under old birthday cards. The battery was almost dead. He plugged it in out of habit, the way you do when you're clearing out a house that no longer feels like home. The bedroom still smelled like her, lavender lotion and menthol rub. Her slippers sat by the bed like she might walk back in any minute. She wouldn't. She'd been in the ground for 3 weeks. Vernon had put off this task as long as he could, going through her things, deciding what to keep, what to donate, what to throw away. 61 years of living reduced to boxes and trash bags. He opened the nightstand drawer looking for her reading glasses. She'd want to be buried with them, but he'd forgotten during the funeral. A small failure that kept him up at night, one of many. The phone was underneath a stack of birthday cards she'd saved. Old flip phone. She never trusted smartphones. Vernon smiled at that. His mother was stubborn about things like that. He plugged it in without thinking. The screen lit up. One saved voicemail. Vernon pressed play, expecting nothing. Maybe an old message from a doctor's office. Maybe a scam call she'd accidentally saved. His sister's voice filled the room. "Just say Vernon hasn't been around, Mama. Say you want Arlene to have everything. He's not coming back. This is for the best." Vernon stopped breathing. He played it again. "Just say Vernon hasn't been around, Mama." Again. "He's not coming back." Again. "This is for the best." Vernon sat on the edge of his mother's bed. The same bed where she'd screamed at him 2 months ago, where she'd looked at him with terror in her eyes and called him a stranger, where she'd begged him to get out of her house. Her own son. The son who'd lived with her for 6 years, who'd cooked every meal, given every medication, held her hand through every doctor visit. She died thinking he'd abandoned her. Now Vernon understood why. His sister had done this. Arlene had turned their mother against him, coached her on what to say, changed the will while Vernon was in the hospital recovering from surgery. 5 days. That's all it took. 5 days to erase 6 years. Vernon sat in that empty bedroom for a long time. The phone felt heavy in his hand. His sister's voice echoed in his head. He thought about deleting it, walking away, letting Arlene have everything and moving on with his life. That's what the old Vernon would do. The quiet one, the peacekeeper. But his mother died afraid of him. She died believing a lie. He couldn't let that stand. To understand what Arlene took from him, you have to go back. 3 months earlier. Back to the life Vernon built caring for the woman who raised him. Vernon Dill had never planned to be a caregiver. He'd planned to be retired. 41 years as an electrician. Good union job. Honest work. He'd saved enough to live simply, and that's all he wanted. A small apartment. Morning coffee on the porch, fishing twice a week at the lake outside town. His wife Clara had passed 8 years before. Cancer. Quick and cruel. They'd never had children. After she was gone, Vernon learned to live alone. He wasn't happy exactly, but he was okay. Then his mother had her stroke. He got the call on a Tuesday afternoon. His mother was 79 years old and had been living on her own since Vernon's father passed in 1996. She was proud of her independence, did her own grocery shopping, kept her garden, walked a mile every morning before breakfast. The stroke took all of that away. Vernon drove to the hospital that night. His sister Arlene was already there. She lived 3 hours away in a bigger city. Nice house. Husband named Garrett, who worked in insurance. Arlene had done well for herself. The doctors said their mother would survive, but she'd need constant care, physical therapy, help with meals, someone to manage her medications. Arlene said she couldn't do it. Her life was 3 hours away. She had responsibilities. Vernon said he'd move in. It wasn't a hard decision. His mother needed him. What else was there to think about? He gave up his apartment, sold most of his furniture, moved into his mother's spare bedroom with 2 suitcases and a box of fishing gear he'd never use again. That was 6 years ago. 6 years of waking up at 6 in the morning to give her the first round of pills. 6 years of making breakfast she could actually eat. Soft foods, nothing too chewy. 6 years of physical therapy exercises in the living room, stretching her arms, helping her walk. 6 years of doctor appointments and pharmacy runs and insurance phone calls that went nowhere. Vernon did all of it, every single day. And not once did Arlene offer to give him a weekend off. Not once did she offer to take a shift. Vernon noticed. He just never said anything. Arlene handled the finances. She set up automatic payments for their mother's bills, managed the savings account, called once a week to check in, visited twice a year, sometimes 3 times if there was a holiday. She always had reasons for not coming more often. Work was busy. Garrett was traveling. The drive was hard. Vernon never complained. He figured everyone did what they could. His mother was grateful. She told him so all the time. She'd squeeze his hand when he brought her dinner and call him, "My good boy." Even at 66 years old, those words made Vernon feel like he'd done something right. They had a routine, a rhythm. Some days were hard. Some days she was confused or angry or sad about everything she'd lost. But most days were okay. She knew his face. She knew his voice. She knew he was her son. That would change soon. And Vernon had no idea it was coming. The pain hit Vernon on a Sunday morning. He was making his mother's oatmeal when it started. A sharp stab below his ribs on the right side. He thought he pulled a muscle, ignored it, finished making breakfast, helped his mother eat. By noon, he couldn't stand up straight. By 3 in the afternoon, he was on the floor of the kitchen, sweating through his shirt, trying not to scream because he didn't want to scare his mother. The neighbor found him, called an ambulance. Vernon remembers the paramedics asking questions he couldn't answer. He remembers the hospital lights, the surgeon telling him his gallbladder had nearly ruptured. Emergency surgery, 5 days minimum in the hospital, maybe longer. Vernon's first thought wasn't about himself, it was about his mother. Who would take care of her? He called Arlene from the hospital bed, still groggy from anesthesia, explained the situation, asked if she could come stay with their mother while he recovered. Arlene said yes. Vernon almost cried. 6 years he'd been doing this alone. 6 years of Arlene having reasons and excuses. Now, when he needed her most, she was finally stepping up. He thanked her, told her he owed her one, told her exactly how to give their mother her medications, what to make for meals, which side of the bed she liked to sleep on. Arlene said she had it handled. Vernon believed her. What happened over the next 5 days, Vernon would piece together later. From health aid statements, from the attorney who drafted the new will, from small details that didn't make sense until they did. Day 1. Arlene arrived at the house. She sent the home health aide away, said she didn't need help, said it was a family matter. Day 2. Arlene started telling their mother that Vernon wasn't coming back, that he'd been taken to a facility, that he was too sick to ever care for her again. Their mother asked to call him. Arlene said the doctors wouldn't allow it. She said Vernon needed rest. She said calling would only upset him. Day 3. Arlene brought an attorney to the house, a man their mother had never met. Arlene introduced him as someone who could help protect her. She told their mother that Vernon had been mismanaging her money, that he'd been taking advantage of her for years. Their mother was confused. She said that couldn't be right. Vernon was her good boy. Arlene said Vernon had fooled everyone. She said she'd found proof. She said the only way to protect the family was to change the will. Day 4. Arlene coached their mother on what to say, practiced it with her, told her the attorney would ask questions and she just needed to repeat what Arlene taught her. Vernon's not coming back. I want Arlene to have everything. This is for the best. Over and over until the words stuck. Day 5. The attorney returned. Their mother signed the new will. Everything went to Arlene. Vernon's name wasn't mentioned once. That same afternoon, Arlene called Vernon at the hospital. She told him their mother was doing fine. She told him to focus on getting better. She told him she was happy to help. Vernon thanked her again. He had no idea his mother had spent 5 days being told her son abandoned her. No idea she'd signed away everything while believing he was never coming home. No idea that when he walked through that front door, his mother would look at him like a stranger. He thought he was coming home to the same life he'd left. He was wrong. Vernon came home on a Friday afternoon. He was still sore from the surgery, moving slow. But he couldn't wait any longer. He missed his mother, missed their routine, missed the small, quiet life they'd built together. He opened the front door, expecting her to be in her usual chair by the window, maybe watching television, maybe dozing with a blanket on her lap. She was in the chair. But when she saw him, she didn't smile. She screamed. The sound cut right through Vernon, high and sharp and terrified, like she was looking at a monster. "Get out!" she shouted. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wild. "Get out of my house! I don't know you!" Vernon froze in the doorway. He couldn't understand what was happening. "Mama," he said softly. "Mama, it's me. It's Vernon." "I don't know any Vernon." She was trying to get out of the chair now, trying to get away from him. "Arlene! Arlene, help me!" Arlene appeared from the kitchen, calm, unhurried. She put her hand on their mother's shoulder and looked at Vernon with something like pity. "She's been confused all week," Arlene said. "The doctors think it might be the start of something worse. You know how these things go." Vernon didn't move, couldn't move. "Mama," he tried again, "I've been here for 6 years. I live in the spare bedroom. I make your oatmeal every morning." His mother shook her head. Tears were running down her face. "I don't know you. Please leave, please." Arlene guided Vernon outside. She spoke in a low voice, like she was explaining something to a child. "Give her time," Arlene said. "She's been through a lot. You being in the hospital scared her. She just needs to readjust." Vernon believed her. What else could he believe? He stayed in a motel that night, came back the next day. His mother screamed again, called him a stranger again, begged Arlene to make him leave. He tried every day for 2 weeks. Same result. His mother didn't know him, didn't want him near her. The worst day was day 11. Vernon brought her favorite flowers, yellow roses from the garden she used to keep. She took one look at them and threw the vase at the wall. Glass everywhere. She was screaming that a stranger was trying to poison her. Arlene suggested he give her space. Let things settle. Maybe in a month or 2 she'd come around. Vernon moved back to his old town, rented a small apartment, called every few days to check in. Arlene always had an update. Their mother was doing fine, still confused about Vernon. Best not to visit yet. 2 months passed. Then Arlene called with different news. Their mother had taken a turn. Pneumonia. She was in the hospital. Vernon drove 3 hours in the middle of the night. When he got to the hospital room, Arlene was sitting beside the bed. Their mother was unconscious. Machines beeped. Her breathing was shallow. "You should wait outside," Arlene said. "She's my mother. She doesn't know that. If she wakes up and sees you, it'll upset her. You know that." Vernon stood in the doorway. He watched his mother's chest rise and fall. He wanted to hold her hand, tell her he loved her, tell her he never abandoned her. But he didn't want her last moments to be filled with fear of her own son. He waited in the hallway. His mother died at 4:17 in the morning. Arlene was holding her hand. Vernon was sitting in a plastic chair 20 feet away staring at a vending machine. He didn't cry. He felt hollow, empty in a way he couldn't describe. The funeral was small. Vernon stood apart from Arlene and Garrett. A few neighbors came, the home health aides who used to visit. Everyone offered condolences. 1 week later, the attorney called about the will. Vernon drove to the office expecting to handle paperwork. Split things with Arlene, figure out what to do with the house. The attorney read the document. Everything went to Arlene. The house, the savings, all of it. Vernon wasn't mentioned at all. He sat there for a long moment. "There must be a mistake," he said. The attorney shook his head. "This will was signed 3 months ago. Your mother was very clear about her wishes. 3 months ago, when Vernon was in the hospital, when Arlene was staying at the house." Vernon looked at his sister. She met his eyes without flinching. "Mama finally saw the truth," Arlene said. "I'm sorry, Vernon, but she made her choice." Vernon didn't argue, didn't shout. He walked out of that office with nothing. He thought it was over. Then he found the phone. Vernon played the voicemail 11 times that first night, sitting on his mother's bed in the empty house, listening to his sister's voice teach their mother how to betray him. By midnight, he'd made a decision. The old Vernon would have let it go, kept the peace, accepted the loss, and moved on. But his mother died afraid of him. She died, believing her son had abandoned her. That wasn't peace. That was a lie. Vernon wasn't going to let a lie be the final word. The next morning, he drove to the public library, used their computer to search for elder law attorneys. Found 1-2 towns over with good reviews. A woman named Patricia Reeves who specialized in will contests and undue influence cases. He called her office, explained the situation. She asked him to come in that afternoon. Patricia Reeves was in her 50s. Direct, no nonsense. She listened to Vernon's story without interrupting. Then she asked to hear the voicemail. Vernon played it on his mother's old phone. Patricia leaned forward in her chair. When it finished, she nodded slowly. "This is textbook undue influence," she said. "Your sister isolated your mother, fed her false information, and coached her on what to say. If we can prove your mother lacked the mental capacity to understand what she was signing, We have a strong case. Vernon felt something loosen in his chest. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't imagining things. What happened to him was real and it was wrong. What do we need? He asked. Patricia made a list. Medical records showing his mother's cognitive state. Statements from anyone who witnessed Arlene's behavior during those 5 days. Information about the attorney who drafted the new will. Vernon got to work. The medical records came first. His mother's doctor confirmed what Vernon already knew. Her cognition had been declining for over a year. She had good days and bad days. But in her condition, she was vulnerable to manipulation. A skilled person could convince her of almost anything. That confirmed what Arlene did was possible. Now Vernon needed to prove she actually did it. The home health aides came next. Vernon tracked down the 2 women who'd been visiting his mother before Arlene sent them away. Both remembered that week clearly. One aide, a woman named Delia, said Arlene had been cold when she dismissed her, told her the family didn't need outside help. But before Delia left, she heard Arlene talking to their mother in the bedroom. She said something like, "He's not coming back, Mama," Delia told Vernon. "I thought it was strange, but it wasn't my place to ask questions." The other aide had similar memories. Arlene controlling access, their mother seeming confused and upset, a man in a suit visiting the house. Vernon wrote down everything. Then he found the attorney who drafted the new will. His name was Leonard Fitch. Small practice, mostly retired. Vernon called his office and asked for a meeting. Leonard Fitch was nervous from the moment Vernon sat down. He got more nervous when Vernon explained why he was there. "Your sister told me she was your mother's primary caregiver," Leonard said. "She said you hadn't been involved in years. She said your mother specifically wanted to remove you from the will because of your neglect." Vernon showed him photos on his phone. 6 years of photos. Him and his mother at doctor appointments, birthday dinners, Christmas mornings, physical therapy sessions in the living room. Leonard Fitch went pale. "I was misled," he said quietly. "I should have verified. I should have asked more questions." Vernon had what he needed. The voicemail, the medical records, the witness statements. The drafting attorney admitting he'd been lied to. He went back to Patricia Reeves. She reviewed everything and smiled for the first time since they'd met. "We're filing this week," she said. "Your sister doesn't have a leg to stand on." Vernon nodded. 6 years of caregiving logs sat in a folder on Patricia's desk. Every medication, every doctor visit, every meal, all documented. He'd kept those records because he was careful, because that's who he was. Now, they were going to help him take back his mother's truth. Arlene was served with the will contest on a Tuesday morning. Vernon wasn't there to see it, but Patricia Reeves told him what happened. A process server knocked on Arlene's door and handed her the paperwork. 30 pages detailing everything. The voicemail, the witness statements, the medical records, the drafting attorney's admission that he'd been deceived. Arlene called Vernon that night. First time they'd spoken since the will reading. "You're really going to do this?" she said. "Drag Mama's memory through court? Air our family business for everyone to see?" Vernon didn't raise his voice. He never did. "You made her afraid of me," he said. "She died thinking I abandoned her. I'm not letting that be the end of the story." Arlene tried a different approach, softer, almost sweet. "Mama would want us to work this out ourselves. She wouldn't want lawyers involved. You know that, Vernon. Let's just sit down and talk like family." Vernon thought about his mother screaming at him, calling him a stranger, begging him to leave her house. "We're not family," he said. "Not anymore." He hung up. 2 weeks later, Patricia called with news. Arlene's attorney had reviewed the evidence. He'd heard the voicemail. He'd seen the statements from the home health aides. He'd talked to Leonard Fitch. His advice to Arlene was simple. Settle now or lose everything at trial. Arlene offered 50%. Patricia said no. Arlene offered 60. Patricia said no. Arlene offered 70. Vernon told Patricia to push for 80. He wanted Arlene to feel it, wanted her to understand that what she did had a cost. Arlene agreed. 80% to Vernon, 20% to her. No trial, no public testimony, just signatures on paper and a wire transfer 3 days later. Vernon got the house. He got most of the savings. He got enough to live on for the rest of his life. But that wasn't the end of it. The home health aides talked. Delia told her coworkers what she'd witnessed. Word spread the way it does in small towns. People started asking questions. The neighbors who'd seen Arlene come and go during those 5 days. The church members who'd known Vernon's mother for decades. The story came out piece by piece. The son who gave up everything. The daughter who swooped in and stole it all. The voicemail that proved the whole thing. Arlene and Garrett sold their house within 2 months, moved to another state. Vernon heard they told people they wanted to be closer to Garrett's family. But everyone knew the truth. They were running from it. Vernon didn't feel joy about that. He didn't feel much of anything about Arlene anymore. She was gone from his life. That was enough. He did one more thing with the money. Donated $20,000 to an elder abuse prevention organization. Made the donation in his mother's name, Evelyn Dill. The money would help protect other families from what happened to his. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, Vernon drove to the cemetery. He sat on the grass beside his mother's grave. The headstone was simple. Her name, her dates, beloved mother. He talked to her for a while, told her what happened, told her he knew the truth now, told her he never abandoned her, never would have. He told her he forgave her for not recognizing him at the end. It wasn't her fault. She was sick and scared and manipulated by someone she trusted. "You were a good mama," Vernon said. "I was lucky to take care of you." He sat there until the sun started to set. Then he stood up, brushed the grass off his pants, and walked back to his car. His mother died believing a lie, but the truth won in the end.